Christina. Is it on now? Yeah. Okay. It's a lot louder than I anticipated. Speak directly into the mic. Okay, awesome. Good morning. We're going to get started. We have Good morning. We want to get started. I don't want to stop the conversation that's happening and the connections and reconnections that are happening, but we have several hundred people online as well watching our live state of the college. And so in respect to them, we want to get started. Good morning, Bethany College Swedes. It is a pleasure to be with you all here today. My name is Christy Denniston, and I serve as the Vice President of Advancement and Strategic Engagement here at Bethany College. In my short time here of 11 weeks, a couple of things have come to mind here about my time at Bethany College. One is community, and that is reflected in what you're going to see downtown today. From the earliest hours this morning, the community has come together to be here for Hillings Fest. The second is commitment. All of you made a commitment to be here today. You're choosing State of the College over Viking on a Stick because the vendor just started opening about 5 minutes ago, so we appreciate the community that's here today. And the third element is really your unwavering love for this institution. So I want to welcome you on behalf of the Cabinet. I'm going to do some introductions here. If you are a member of the Cabinet, President Dr. Laura Crawley's Cabinet, could you please stand and be recognized? If you are a member of the Board of Alumni or our Board of Directors, or if you've been a member of one of those boards, I see several former board members here, will you please rise and be recognized as well? Most importantly, our faculty and staff who are here today, some of them are already standing, so I'm not going to ask them to stand. I see Coach Abel back there and others, so let's just give our faculty and staff a round of applause who've made this possible. On behalf of President Dr. Laura Crawley and members of the Cabinet and our boards, we want to welcome you to the 2025 State of the College Address here at Bethany College. It's a time to celebrate our shared mission, reflect on our progress, and look ahead with faith and purpose. To open our gathering in the spirit of gratitude and community, please join me in welcoming Bethany College's own 2015 graduate, Pastor Melissa, who will lead us in prayer.
Good morning. On your chairs, for those of you who have a chair, is a copy of this year's Bethany Blessing, which was written to be an affirmation of community, and in that spirit really is intended to be spoken together. So if you have a copy in front of you, I invite you to join me in these words as we remember our commitments to this community and to one another. We believe in care and connection, where all are seen, known, and loved, where grace and accountability walk hand in hand. We commit to building a beloved community that values unique contributions, that invests in the common good. We trust in the transformation that comes when we ask the complicated questions, when we work together in faith, learning, and service. Amen.
Good morning, everybody. My name is McKenna Russum. I was originally from Phillipsburg, Kansas, and I'm a senior here at Bethany College, majoring in exercise science. My college experience at Bethany has been busy but rewarding, with being on the tennis team, being an admissions ambassador, leading as an RA, and serving as SGA president. I've loved the small campus feel where everyone knows each other and there's always something going on. My favorite Bethany College memory so far is long van rides back from tennis matches with my teammates. These experiences have made my time here exciting, meaningful, and something I'll always be able to look back on and smile. Dr. Crawley joins Bethany College as the 16th president with an impressive career spanning more than 2 decades in higher education. Dr. Crawley most recently served as vice president of mission, engagement, and innovation at Lenoir-Rhyne University in Hickory, North Carolina, where she spearheaded initiatives that strengthened student success, expanded community partnership, and enhanced institutional mission alignment. Her leadership was instrumental in increasing student retention, securing significant endowment gifts, and developing initiative programs to support both traditional and non-traditional students. Dr. Crawley holds a PhD and a master's in women's studies from Emory University and a bachelor's with honors in American studies from the University of Texas at Austin. A dedicated advocate for higher education and community engagement, she serves on numerous boards, facilitated leadership development programs, and contributed extensively to academic and professional conferences. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Crawley to the podium.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm going to do my own tech support right now, and then we'll get started. It is an incredible honor and such a joy to see all of you here today on my very first Hillings Fest weekend and first Bethany homecoming. Yes, exactly. All the woos, yes, it's wonderful. And all of you who are joining virtually, thank you so much for taking the time today to join us. You've already witnessed our incredible cabinet. They were the first group of people I met when I came to campus for the first time. And we have been building from that first meeting ever since, including having matching jackets. So I have one too, I just didn't wear it today. But I want to thank them in particular for all of the work that we get to do together. You've already heard that we have several board members in the room. We have several of our faculty members in the room. We've got some of our students in the room. And I want to introduce a couple of people who are very special to me. My husband, Charles Fox, here in the front row. Yeah. You can if you want to. His mom, Pat Fox. Legendary brownie maker, for those who've been to the house for lunch at some point. My mom, Kay Crawley, is here visiting from Texas. And my little sister, Stephanie McGee, is also visiting from Houston. I can't tell you what it means to me to have the family in the front row, so thanks you all for being here. So what is a state of the college? We've all seen these before. I've worked at several institutions where presidents give states of the college. Often, I even said this to my team when we were setting up for today, please do not put me between two ferns in some sort of formal place where I have to read a speech. That is not my style. The state of the college is meant to be a reflection on the mission and history of the institution as it is being expressed today, but even more importantly, what are we thinking about for tomorrow? So I'm going to share with you a little bit of insider information. This is not, if you come to me afterwards and say, well, what have been the outcomes of those initiatives? I'll have to say to you, we just announced them today. But the conversations have begun. The efforts are there, and most importantly, everything I'm going to share with you today is grounded in the history and the mission of this institution. I am not here as your new president in, how many months has it been? Almost 6 months, came in May. I'm not here to turn Bethany into something that it's never been before. It doesn't need it. Bethany has everything it needs. We are what we need, and we have everything we need to succeed. So I'm looking forward to sharing with you what's been on our minds and on our plates and in our conversations over the last 6 months. But first, I'm going to take a step back. So Bethany College, Lindsborg, we are very special. It's a very special place. We're very special people, but we always exist in a larger context, right? Higher education is an industry. There are nationwide trends and realities that we face, even here in Lindsborg, Kansas, even this small institution. And I want to share a little bit about that with you and sort of what we think about on a daily basis here at the college. So first, any of you who have been reading the paper in the last, I don't know, 15 years has probably heard of something called the demographic cliff. You've seen enrollment trends change. You've seen colleges close. You've seen colleges consolidate. You've seen seminaries close and consolidate. A lot of that has to do with demographic changes in the United States. It has to do with shifts in priorities within the economy and within families. It has to do with changes that have occurred in taxes for public institutions and in investment for private institutions. So we do face some significant challenges in higher education. We are part of that larger conversation. Faculty and staff turnover is a real thing. The decline in U.S. population growth affects us. Public perception of the value of higher education affects us. You can see here that the public confidence in the value of U.S. higher education has declined pretty sharply in the last 15 years, 10 years. We notice that families and students have a softened commitment to continuing their education through to graduation. What was true for me as a first-generation college student, my mother's parents, my grandfather in particular, and my grandmother, neither one of them went to college. My grandfather did not finish middle school. His commitment was that his children and grandchildren would go farther in education than he had. Not for any particular reason, other than, or for any particular degree, other than knowing that education is the path. It's the path to the middle class, it's the path to stability, it's the path to employment certainty, and so he was committed. My parents were committed. And we're seeing that conversation has changed in families and in communities. It's just more difficult for students to stick. There are other drivers of change. It's not just about demographics. Higher education is affected by any major disruptive force. How many of you lived through, lived significant portions of your life before there were cell phones? Yeah, hello, right? Has that changed? Can any of us read paper maps anymore? I'm not sure that I could. That's a disruptor, right? We have embraced it, we have adopted it, we understand that there are still problems with it. That wasn't always the case when it was first introduced. Some of us remember when computers were not a thing. I remember that. You know, I learned how to type on an IBM Selectric. Remember those? Those were great. Yeah, here you go. We've changed, we've adapted. One of the biggest disruptors facing all of us today, not just higher education, but across culture, across society, across the workforce, is AI, artificial intelligence. It is very disruptive. It disrupts literally our understanding of what is true and what is real. It is very easy for us to see images and to see videos and to see text and pictures that we think is real. It looks real, but it may not be. So we're in the midst of a disruptive time where even our basic understanding of seeing is believing is not really true any longer. And it affects how we do our work, and it's definitely going to affect how our students do their work. So what do we do as a small institution? Do we wait for that to get figured out by everybody else? Absolutely not. We're going to be part of figuring that out here at Bethany, and we expect other people to follow our lead. So who are our students today? You just met one, McKenna. She gave you a wonderful sort of rundown of all of the things that are possible for Bethany College students. Many of you are alums, and you remember those experiences yourself. But here are who our students are today. So a 20th day enrollment snapshot, what is that? 20th day enrollment is what, in higher education, that's when you report your enrollment. That's when you report sort of your number. But the reality is that enrollment is a constantly changing number. It's always going up and down throughout the course of an academic year. But at our 20th day enrollment snapshot, I wanted to share with you a few tidbits about the students who are here. So we have students who come from 24 states and territories and 14 countries. The average GPA for our first-time full-time students this year is a 3.16 out of a 4-point scale, which is pretty good. And what does GPA mean? It doesn't mean what it used to mean. We don't necessarily know exactly what GPA means from high schools post-COVID, because we know that there's been a lot of advancement of students without necessarily achieving the goals that they were meant to achieve in high school. But it still does indicate the ability to do the work that's required of students when they come to college. 45% of our students are from Kansas. And 24% of our students come from towns like Lindsborg. They come from towns smaller than 5,000. 1 out of 3 of our students come from more than 500 miles away from campus. Why is that important? What we know now about recruiting college students is that college students, and I hate to break it to my mom, I went to college in my hometown of Austin, Texas. My parents lived just 15 miles from campus, maybe. How often did I come home that first year? She's like, never. I was eager to move out, to be on my own, to have that experience, right, to be independent. Our students today are different. Our students are close to their families. And so when we're recruiting students, we're recruiting families. And very often, students who live very far away from their families develop debilitating homesickness. It is real. And it is challenging, and it does affect retention. So we have to pay attention to those students who are coming from farther away. 1 out of 4 of our Bethany students are like me, the first in their family to attend college. And 60% are Pell eligible. So Pell eligible just means that they have recognized financial need and receive federal support for their education. And I wanted to give you a sense of our 20th day enrollment in context. So these are the last 4 years. You'll see from fall 22 to fall 23, a drop of about 90 students. Now that looks like we've just been declining since then. But I want to give you a little more context to that. So that same year is the year, and those of you who have worked at Bethany or live in Lindsborg will remember that year, perhaps, the 2022-2023, as a time of great financial change and organizational change at Bethany College. It is a time that has hit almost every college and university in the country of having to reprioritize, to lose academic programs, lose faculty positions, cut budgets. And that was very traumatic for this community. It was traumatic at Lenore Ryan and Hickory, where I was before. We had to go through the same thing. It's traumatic now at University of Georgia, where it's happening there too. So every institution is being affected by this. What you see post-fall 23 is the beginning of stability. So while we may not be at 678, we're at 552 right now, we are in a much more stable position than we have been in several years. We have solid financial support. We have incredible donors and givers who are supporting this institution. We have had 2 clean audits in a row. We have been able to give, yes, that's very good news. I applaud that as well. And we have been able to give cost of living increases to all of our faculty and staff for the last 2 years in a row and are planning to do the same next year. We have a long way to go in ensuring that we have an equitable pay structure for our faculty and staff. We have a long way to go in ensuring that we have sustainable facilities, sustainable support, the infrastructure that's required to run a college. We have a ways to go, but we're starting from a solid place now. And I don't know, how many of you have read Bethany in Kansas? Any of you read that history book? Yeah. I just had it on my desk yesterday. I was actually quoting from it in something. I think one of our faculty, it may have been Mark McDonald. I know Mark is here. He's over here. There he is. It may have been you. It may have been someone else who said, Bethany College opened in 1881, and in 1882, we were under threat of closure. This college has had grit and resilience and has been up and down many times in its long history. And we will always be on that edge, I believe. If we're going to maintain what makes us special, if we're going to stay small, if we're going to keep the size that is in relation to Lindsborg, and if we aren't going to try to do something that is sort of outside of our mission and outside of our history. So we may have to live with that. It's been true throughout our history. We are in a solid place now. But we will always have to be aware and careful and resilient and exhibit that grit to live on the edge. So that brings me to the next thing I want to share with you. I was invited this past summer. It was actually, as a lifelong Lutheran, it was a real honor. I got to speak at the Central States Synod gathering this summer, and I was asked to talk about Bethany. And there at that gathering, where some of you may have been there were many Bethany alums there that day, and I said, Lindsborg is a tiny dot at the center of the American experiment. And Bethany is a tiny dot at the center of the Lutheran higher education experiment in this country. Big things happen in small places. Big ideas thrive in small places. I think our size is a strength. It gives us the ability to be flexible. It gives us the ability to be responsive. We can try new things quickly. What do they always say? Fail quickly, learn, and go back and fix it. We have that capacity here. Again, we have everything we need. So I want to talk with you a little bit about what that means. When you're at a small institution, now I've spent most of my career at very large institutions. I started out in a community college. My husband and I worked at Georgia Perimeter College. He actually retired from there as an assistant dean. At 16,000 students, 5 campuses. I was at Georgia State. Georgia State now has 54,000 students. I spent 9 years at the University of Georgia. That's 35,000 students. There were things that we could not do at those institutions that we can do here. And one of the most important, I think, is to treat our students as who they are, whole people. They are not athletes on the field and students in the classroom. They are always who they are everywhere they go. And because of our size, when we have all campus gatherings, the entire staff and faculty can fit here in the chapel. We have the ability, we have the capacity to overcome those silos that divide higher education at other institutions. That's the liberal arts. If we believe in the liberal arts, the understanding that we are developing whole human beings, we're not developing experts in one field. That expert in one field is going to be a whole human being when she or he graduates from this institution. The Liberal Arts College is a human development lab. Academics, athletics, fine arts, and spiritual life intersect here. And we are going to build on that. The liberal arts is the future. It happens to be our history. Those of you who know anything about Lutheran higher education know that we've been educating people for, more than 5 centuries now. And this denomination started with a scholarly conversation, well, maybe an argument, at a university. Martin Luther was a professor. The 95 Theses that launched the Protestant Reformation were nailed up on the wall on a door at a university. And those conversations were meant to happen within the diversity of experience, background, and people that are present at a university. Lutheran higher education has always been ecumenical. It has always been diverse. It has always been about bringing people together who come from different backgrounds, different belief systems, different understandings, so that they can learn from each other. We don't have to all agree. That's one of the beauties of higher education. It's actually designed that we don't have to and we're not supposed to. What we're supposed to do is establish trust among ourselves so that we can disagree productively, fruitfully, to the betterment of all. So we're always going to privilege curiosity at a liberal arts institution like Bethany College. We want to make space for exploration. One of the realities, and this is part of my own, my own biography, what drives me, what's my engine, why am I here? I spent many years in state-supported higher education. That was where my career was. Loved my time in those institutions. I believe in state-funded institutions in higher education. We need to invest in the people who live in our states so that we can educate them and grow our economies and keep our communities sustainable. But the function of a liberal arts institution is not to push people into a hole too quickly. We're not meant to be entirely transactional. Do we want our students to succeed? Absolutely. How many of you alums would credit your own success to the experience that you had here at Bethany College? That is what we, see, hands are up, right? Absolutely. What we are looking for is space for students to have the opportunity to explore. That's the purpose of the core. That's the purpose of the integrated education that we want to offer here at Bethany. We need space for curiosity. We want a privileged relationship over transaction. I tell this story, I actually shared this in a faculty forum recently. One of my opportunities at the University of Georgia, I got to run the Center for Teaching and Learning at the University of Georgia for a year and a half or so. And it was wonderful. I got to work with faculty across the university on their teaching, on pedagogy. And I also got to teach sections, we taught workshops around retention strategies in the college classroom. There are some basic things that we know across higher education that help us to retain students. One of them is know your students' names. I actually had to have workshops taught at the University of Georgia on the importance of knowing your students' names. Why does that matter to students? Why does that matter to you as a faculty member? Why does that matter to retention? That is not a workshop we have to teach here at Bethany College. Our faculty know our students. They invest in our students. And that is very important for our student success. It also happens to be important for the sustainability of our culture among faculty and staff. We want our students to exceed employer expectations. One of my roles, I ran the executive MBA program at Georgia State University for 5 years. That was part of, Georgia State University was founded as a business school. It was started as the business school actually for Georgia Tech, and grew from that. So its long history begins with business and teaching people how to work well. In all of the work that I did there, what employers told us over and over and over again, we need people who can think critically. We need employees who understand not just how to be a leader, but how to be a follower. We need employers with solid skills, yes, but can they work in a team? Can they disagree productively and grow from that? Can they do research, solid research, responsible research across multiple disciplines and bring that together, extrapolate from that to get something more? Those are liberal arts people. Those are liberal arts skills. And that's what we are teaching here at Bethany. And finally, we're living in an age not only of incredible technological innovation, but we're learning so much about human beings. The MRI alone has been an incredible window into how human beings develop. What we know about development within our age range, right, 17 to 25, we want to apply that to our curriculum, to our student events and student experiences, and to the interactions that we have as staff and faculty when we think about how best to do the work that we're here to do. We want to apply that knowledge. We happen to have some experts here on the faculty in exactly that. So now I want to share with you a few ideas that we're talking about here at Bethany College. We want to talk about the Bethany Edge. What's the Bethany Edge? Empower, develop, grow, and excel. We don't do that in silos at Bethany. We want to do that across the experience of students. I started my career in student affairs, so I carry that silos sort of attitudes about where do students really learn. It happens to be true that research does tell us that much of what students learn in college is not happening in classrooms. It's happening on the field, it's happening in student organizations, it's happening in clubs, it's happening in their social realm, it's happening in the residence halls. All of that learning affects the classroom. And what they learn in the classroom, how to argue responsibly, how to research ethically, how to work together in pursuit of knowledge, that affects the field. It affects the court. It affects the residence halls. It affects SGA. It affects student activities and student affairs. We want to be interconnected in that. And all of it also affects their spiritual development. Bethany College is a Lutheran institution. That means a lot to me as a Lutheran, but you don't have to be Lutheran to benefit from that. Lutheran higher education is founded in the Lutheran theological understanding of who we are as human beings. We do not exist in a vacuum. We are not alone. The way that we learn, the way that we grow, the way that we develop is in community. So community understanding, community support, that value of community is crucial and essential to the classroom, to the field, to student activities as well. So I'll share with you one, first-year students this year, all of our incoming first years. I did workshops with them on the Sunday before classes began. And I came in, I did, these were small. I think I did maybe 3 or 4 that day, so they could be smaller groups. And they're first years, and they've just gone through Valcom weekend, and they're moving into their dorms, and maybe their families have left, and they look I need a nap. They look sort of a little scared. And they come in, and here's the president. I was probably wearing this suit. And I'm here to talk with them, right? Neither one of us had high expectations for this experience. I'll just say that. But I said, you have all chosen to come to a small, private college in a small town. You have chosen to come to a place where you cannot hide. And you are going to be essential to the community that you're going to create as a class. So that's what we're going to talk about. And we talked about, what do you need from your community? And we talked about, what do you bring to your community? And we talked about, what are your commitments to your community? And that's what we're doing at Bethany College. We don't want anybody to hide. We want everybody to be part of it, because that's how we all grow. I'm going to quote our academic dean here on future-proofing students. You really need to copyright that. What are we preparing students to do? You'll often hear a lot of criticisms of the liberal arts of, what's it preparing them to do? What are their job skills going to be? What's the job they're going to get? I will confess, as an American Studies graduate and a Women's Studies graduate, clearly was not practical consideration in my head when I chose my majors. There are no American Studies jobs out there with that name on them. I was invested in learning how to think. I was invested in learning how to be. And I figured that I would find a job. I started working when I was in middle school. I knew I could always find work. I wanted to learn and grow and know. And that's what the liberal arts are about, and it turns out that that's what future-proofs our students. We already know that our students are going to go on and do jobs we can't even imagine now. We can't even imagine them. I'll share with you a story some of you may have heard me share about. I used to do these open forums when I was at the University of Georgia, and people would come and just ask questions about higher education. It was me and a couple of other representatives of different colleges and universities. And they would ask about majors, or they would ask about competition among institutions, or what's the future of higher ed in Georgia, et cetera. And I had one mom, actually. She had a child who was looking at college at the time. And she said, why don't any of you have a degree in Bitcoin? Why don't you have a degree program in Bitcoin? And I thought, part of me, I did control my face. Mom would be very proud. I did not roll my eyes. I was very proud of myself. Because that's a legit question. She had a student who was really interested in Bitcoin and wanted to major in Bitcoin, so why not ask, right? On the inside of higher ed, we know that is not actually, we don't even know what that would look like, right? But instead of saying that, instead of just saying no, I said, I have great news for you. The University of Georgia has a degree in Bitcoin. It's called the liberal arts. If you look at every innovator in most of these fields, they have a liberal arts degree. It does all of those things that you need. It enables you to capture all of those skill sets that you need to innovate the next career, not only to prepare for the career that's ahead of you. We love students who know what they want to do. We do. We love students who come here and know exactly where they're headed. We also love those students who have no idea, and they're looking for a pathway to figure it out. For both of those, amen, right? Every one of those students, whether they think they know exactly what they're going to do or they have no idea, belongs at a liberal arts institution. First for you for rural communities. This will not come as a surprise to any of you. We are in rural Kansas. I haven't lived in a rural community in much of my life, but I do come from a long history of farming people. My grandparents, my mom's parents and grandparents immigrated from Germany to Central Texas and were farmers and founded German-speaking communities there, much like the ancestors here formed a Swedish-speaking community. We believe that rural communities in Kansas, across the United States, deserve, need, require, want well-prepared young people to come to those communities and build them and sustain them. I hear it in meetings here in Lindsborg about what's the future of Lindsborg? Who's moving here to stay? Who's going to stick and raise their family here and grow this community and sustain this community? Many colleges and schools, and certainly we would endorse this as well at Bethany, will say, come here and you can go anywhere. Spread your wings and fly. You can be anything, you can do anything. You should go to Kansas City. That's fine if that's what you want to do. But we also believe, come here and you can go home. And you can build your home and sustain your home. So we're introducing a new scholarship program that was funded by a generous donor for students from small towns across Kansas and the rural plains. We want to focus on those young people who have good ideas, they've got curiosity, they're creative, they've got grit, and we want to help them find their path back home or to a new community where they can put their knowledge and that creativity and that grit into action. And finally, I want to talk about the relationship between Lindsborg and Bethany. So some of you may have been here in this room back in February. I think it was negative 17 degrees for my campus visit. And someone asked me at the time, by the way, I want to thank all the wasp hunters here. And we got him. It's a little fun theater that's been happening for those of you watching from home. We got him. He's been brought down. What I said in that meeting, somebody asked about what I thought of Lindsborg, Charles was here with me, what Charles and I thought of Lindsborg. And I think I said, we're just getting to know it. I think I may have said it's cold. But I said, Charles and I are always looking for our next hometown. And I feel like we've found it here. This is an incredible, unique joining of a college and a town that is our greatest strength, both for the town and for the college. We have been embraced because, again, like our students, we're in a community where you can't hide. Everybody needs to be part of it. Charles has joined, we're at 2 choirs and counting. Oh, Arts Council. Well, yes, you are wearing his Arts Council uniform today. And he's also teaching here at the college. So like a lot of our faculty and staff, the 2 co-chairs of the Hildingsfest this year happen to be 2 staff members here at Bethany College. We are linked. 13% of Lindsborg residents when our college is in session are our students. They are bringing their families here. They're bringing their friends here to support this community. And most of our employees live nearby. So we're really leaning into supporting and enhancing local culture and the arts, building on the things we've always done, yay, 145th Messiah coming up, and looking at some new opportunities where we can partner. And before I get to this question slide, which we're at the end, so you get to ask a couple of questions, I just want to say thank you. I think it's important to show gratitude. We talk a lot about a culture of abundance at Bethany. We are not too small. We are not too poor. We are not too lacking to do any of the things that we need to do as a college. We will always come from a place of abundance and knowing that we have enough. And a big part of reminding ourselves of that is to say thank you. I am so thankful for the opportunity to be here at this institution now in its history. And I'm so thankful for all of you for being here today. So, with that, I'd like to open it up to questions. Thank you all.
First question, I see Jim's hand over here.
Your slide that identified 60%, identified 60% of the students at Bethany as Pell eligible.
Yes.
With the news over the last few months about reduction in staff at the Department of Education and delays in approving grants for Pell students, what kind of impact is that having on Bethany, and what is Bethany doing to confront those impacts?
That's a great question. So the question was, with 60% of our students Pell eligible, and with significant reduction in staff at the Department of Education, delays perhaps in processing paperwork and grant applications, what impact does that have on Bethany? It will have a serious impact. Right now, there are no notifications that the Pell Grant program is changing or going away. None of those. There have been changes that are proposed. It's important to note that changes get proposed every year that make people in higher education go, what? And mostly they do not pass. But right now we're in the midst of a government shutdown. And that means that nobody's doing anything at the Department of Education. So in the midst of that, we can only control what we can control. So our biggest push right now is pretty simple, is to get our students to fill out their FAFSA. We're incentivizing early completion of that paperwork, so whenever things open up again, and whenever we are able to move forward, we will at least have the student portion of that process complete. Am I worried? There's a lot to worry about. I'll tell you the truth. This is my perspective. And I can only speak for myself. But this is what I also encourage when we talk in cabinet. Cabinet, we meet 3 hours a week, and we also have one-on-ones every week. I'm a strong believer in making sure that we do team-based leadership. Very often, members of cabinet will look at me and go, well, what do you want to happen? And I'll say, I don't know, what do you want to have happen? You know, we are very much engaged together in leading at this institution. And yeah, we're worried. We have things we worry about. I choose every day to focus on what we can control, what we can manage. If I worry about what might happen, I will lose focus on what can happen. And we have to focus on what we can do. So yeah, I would welcome prayers and advocacy for those of you in a position to do so.
Hello, Darren Birch, class of 2005.
Hey,
Leon and Judy Birch's son.
Yeah, hello.
From the 60s. My dad was a long-term employee here, 15 years. So thank you.
Yes.
As an alumni who absolutely loves Bethany,
Yeah.
what are 3 things we as alumni in this hall can do for the college? And I'll answer one of them for you, which is give to Bethany.
Yes.
Which give me a few whys on that one, and give me
Sure.
two other ways that us as alumni can support Bethany.
Absolutely, thank you. That's a great question. First, the whys of giving. I think that, well, some is obvious, right? We are a tuition-driven institution. When you have 60% of your students are Pell eligible, most of our scholarships are institutional scholarships, which is another word for discount. Like most private colleges in the country, we do not accrue the sticker price that's listed. We are discounting from that and awarding scholarships against that so that students can afford to be here. So any gift that you give toward scholarships or even to operating costs supports students being here. I'm a firm believer in making sure that we always know in everything that we do that every dollar we spend as an institution rests on a student. And so we want to be careful, mindful, responsible in that, and we would ask alumni to join us in that, supporting students in being here at Bethany. I think giving also, I'm going to completely, I wish I could channel Pastor Melissa right now because she would get this Bible verse correct and I will not. But where our heart lies, our treasure should lie also. Our heart is with Bethany. My husband and I are givers. The cabinet gives, the board gives. Why do we do that? It's not about the amount. It's about knowing where our heart lies is where we want to invest. That sense of connection that comes from being an alumni giver, I think is pretty powerful. We would love for you to talk up Bethany. I don't know how many of you know the Emke's, Louise and Vance. Yes, yes. So Louise and Vance have been interviewed on many national shows, TV shows, radio shows, etc. Louise was interviewed just last week, and she was wearing a Bethany College t-shirt. I don't know if you all saw that, but I did. I was like, yes, Louise. I mean, of course, very important to talk about farm subsidies. However, also, in a Bethany t-shirt is a good thing. Talk us up. Talk about Bethany with your children and grandchildren, with your neighbors and their children. What's beautiful about Bethany, again, being small, we don't need 1,000 students. We wouldn't be able to house them. We just need a few. And you all know, because you're Bethany people, you know when you meet a kid, that's a Bethany kid. That kid must go to Bethany. Help us recruit. And then help us in the community, in conversations in the community when people say, what's going on at Bethany? What's happening at Bethany? Or among your colleagues and friends. Tell them the good news. We're here, we're not going anywhere. And we welcome everybody to come back. And we want your ideas. You know, everything I've just shared with you, these are all ideas. If you have anything to contribute to these ideas as we're developing them, we need that. We would love that. I am not an expert in everything. Charles would probably tell you many things I'm not expert in. We need people who have expertise, who have passion, who have vision, to come and share that. Some of you are already doing that. I'm looking at a couple of you right now who are coming and sharing things that we can grow from. So those are a few things that alumni can do, and I know you're doing that, so thank you.
President, we have time for one more question
Yes.
before our open houses begin, so Shane.
Hi, Dr. Crawley.
Hey, Shane.
When you think about the future and your vision for our students and how Bethany College remains relevant to them, how do you plan to do that while also honoring our values and our deep history?
That's a great question. So the question was, how do we remain relevant to students of today while also remaining true to our history and our mission? Our history and our mission is today and tomorrow. I mean, our history and mission is our future. When we lean into what we do well, I spoke with alums, I've spoken with many of you and many alums from across the country who told me over and over and over again that the beauty of their Bethany experience was small. They got to know everybody in their class. And you're still coming back for reunions, and you're still holding your own reunions, not just with your class, but with people who are 2 years ahead of you and 2 years below you, because you all were together. So we want that, right? That connection that comes. And we want those opportunities that come from leaning into our history. What have we always done well? We have always combined athletics, academics, fine arts, and spiritual development. I hear that over and over and over again. That's the future. That's not just the past. And so that's what I believe. I believe the more that we lean into what we have always done well, the more that we reinterpret that for new generations, I think young people are hungry for it. I'll tell you one more thing about kids today, right? Our daughter, who is 27 now, is a classics major at the University of Georgia. And she told me once that the first written sentences that were not just tallies, right? Tallies of grain or tallies of trade, was a sentence about what a pain young people are today, right? Like, we have been saying this forever. But I'll tell you something about young people today. I think we tend to think of them as needy, as somehow damaged by COVID and other things, as unable to make relationships, as maybe timid. But that's not what I see. I see young people who are coming here they're already whole human beings. They have a history, they have experience, they have knowledge. They have understanding, and encouraging them to share that and to really let them know that their work is meaningful now. I think I remember this myself as a young person long ago, and I think it's true for young people today. They don't want to hear that their future is in the future. They don't want to hear that you're preparing for something that's going to come next, or in a few years you'll be ready for. They want to know that what they're doing now matters. That is important. They have the ability, we kind of need them to change the world. So let's get that work started now. And they want to do it. So let's make possibilities for that. Their future is now. And our future rests in our past. Thank you.
Can we do another round of applause for our wonderful president, Dr. Laura Crawley? Thank you all again for making time to join us today. Today is a historical day here at Bethany College. We are going to be opening our anatomy lab at 11:30, just in the building right across from from where we're at right now. But beginning right now, we have 4 academic open houses. Please take a moment, whether you graduated from those areas or not, please take a moment to stop and visit. The Department of Education will be in the library space, so you can see what's happening in our education space there. Music will be in Presser Hall on the 2nd floor and on the 1st floor. Our new art professor is doing a wonderful job. He will be over in the art building. And then we will start the anatomy lab opening at 11:30 this morning. And then opening ceremonies for Hillings Fest will begin at 1 p.m. So I'm going to steal President, take her to all the open houses so she can get her costume on and head downtown. Thank you all for joining us.